Here we go. We are going, we are rolling, and as I am welcoming you to our weekend review, I am on the road again. As I am, well, we're still going to be podcasting and broadcasting our show, so hang on. So glad to have you with us. It's My Michelle Live. Hey, thanks for joining us today as we go through another week and we wind things up, heading towards the weekend. It's time for us to look back at a bit of a weekend review. Some of the stories that made the news, some of the news that made the news, and some of the news that didn't make the news that maybe you're not getting the whole story. Well, that's why we take it on and we do it with my friend Adam Rosieri. It is what we call the Riz Report. Yes. Adam, hey. Good to see you. Welcome to the weekend. Another week, a whole slew of crazy news stories that you and I are going to take on today. As if they're up right here, if it's just headshot right here, you look all bad. Yeah, I like it. I like it. Your wife likes dancing with you, and that's what counts, right? Welcome to Adam's world, trying to keep up. I'm going to try to keep up with you today. There's a lot of news stories that you've been on top of. I'm trying to keep on top of some. The world is getting a little crazy, and there's some things that people need to know. While you can watch the news and you see these big news stories, we have undoubtedly come to an age where we are oftentimes more propagandized, that's a Michelle word, than we really are newsed. So we will hear, we don't really hear the whole story. So it doesn't help us to make the best decisions or to have a normal conversation with someone who has been, it's almost as though we can all be indoctrinated. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not the woke and the enlightened. I'm just saying that if you're not hearing all sides of the news, that I've done it too, where I went, wait a minute, I got to look deeper. I got to figure this thing out for myself. And that's what we're trying to help you to do as we sort through some of the news stories. Big tech is a real big hot topic for you, and you've been dealing with it on quite a few levels, Adam. Let's talk about the story. Thank you. Well, yeah, and I'm going to be devil's advocate and say it's not just what's true. We'll stick to the what's scary. It is fine that you challenge truth. If I have if I'm broadcasting something dangerous, free speech runs along the lines of I can say whatever I want to say, but you don't yell fire in a crowded theater, right? That's the old adage. So when you say dangerous, that is dangerous right there. Let's gather together, and where they had mob squads that would get on social media and say, let's go find an old person and beat them. That's dangerous. When you're inciting violence, that's dangerous. Ideas, though, when did ideas become dangerous? That to me is dangerous. Yes, I do. We do not negotiate with terrorists. And yet, wow. It is. I mean, yeah, for you and I, that's not just a ton of money, for regular folks. But anyway, come on, right? Russia. Yeah. 50, even last night, 50% of the gas stations were out of fuel. And as you said, the other 50% were dealing with having 50% less capacity. So while this has caused a big panic and people panic buying, of course. So get your gas, get your toilet paper. Last year was toilet paper. This year it's gas. The extortion fee, though, was all cryptocurrencyed to the dark side, right? So those of you who've been investing in cryptocurrency, does that mean that your cryptocurrency value went up? I don't know. I'm looking for a bright side to the dark side today. Hey, does that make them lose face, or are they the heroes? That's what, back in the day it was, as you said, we don't negotiate with terrorists. And now it's like, let's just get her done. But obviously it was done a bit under the table. So are they going to lose face, or are they the heroes? Yeah. Chiquita banana. Perfect. Mm-hmm. I don't know, because does that not open up the conversation to us funding terrorism or cartelisms by our open border policies, and every single person that's crossing with their little wristbands, they paid money to the cartel. So we are in essence funding terror. It's turned topsy turvy. Is this inappropriate? Is this inappropriate for me to ask, Adam? But um, who's who's running the country? I mean, I mean, I'm not trying to insult the president or his people, but if I were president, which there's no way anyone would you elect me? You might. You're a good friend. There's no way, man. Oh, ouch, ouch. But seriously, would heads roll if you found out about something that was so important 2 days after the fact? Heads would roll. I'd be letting people go like the old Trump administration, right? Yeah, like that. Yeah. I know, because the guy got like 3 hours sleep. That was weird, but okay. Now think of it. If there's an attack, and think of the repercussions of this or the potential. If there's an attack on our nation, will Biden know about it? And if he doesn't, who really is making those decisions? It is a little odd, but I will say that he did sign an executive order that is supposed to help defend against these cyber the security breaches along the pipeline. How do you do that? And where's that money go? What's that about? Okay. It's like saying Adam Rosieri. I don't know. Nope. Not. Yeah, and but what does that mean exactly? Because all I know is that we're giving money. Oh, okay, let's spend money. Well, I want to know where that money's going and what they're really doing, because there's a lot of possibilities. If there is a $5 million price tag on hacking into a system, this sends a really strong message that this may be a good career choice for me, and right, or even people who aren't the dark side, who say, well, I'm going to give this a go. They may not be as proficient, but they may be as destructive if they're going after smaller companies, some place on the grid. What? Old school. Well, aren't they? Ethical. Well, how ethical is that, right? In an age where our moral compass has gone cattywampus because we don't have a direct north. And I do like on My Michelle Live to get to the God story. And to me, it's food for thought for you as you're listening today to think about if there is no God, there is no ultimate good or bad. So who are we to judge the dark side or any other side? Because in their mind, they're doing something morally good. It kind of breaks that logic does break down, and there is a reason, and to me that is the God story. But the repercussions was crazy on the East Coast with gas prices, of course, soaring, the lack of all the lack of gasoline and the hoarding, because that's what we do. And then the government saying, please don't hoard. But isn't that the logical thing to do? All right, I may not be able to get gas. Who knows when I'll get it again? Yeah, I'm gonna load up. Oh gosh. No, you did not. Oh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's a start, but sometimes we have executive orders, or we could have a czar of cyber hackerisms. Whatever it is that the government does, nice, but yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And maybe it's a lesson that sometimes reliance on the big companies. There's sometimes where they're very much needed. In this case, yes, understandable. But a lot of other smaller cyber hacks have happened to mostly large companies. It's a reminder that our reliance on that, and COVID has boosted the success of larger companies, demolished a lot of smaller companies, and those are the places where it's safest. You have to think it's closer to home. Where you're doing cash sales at your local whatever. Those things, not going to worry a lot about hacking there. Now, dealing with some more cyber news. If we were going to issue a cyber challenge, we might have to say Adam Rizzieri like 5 times in a row really fast. I'm not going to take that challenge, but you know what? There's a lot of challenges on the internet that kids are getting involved in. It's getting scary. And on top of it, rather than being part of the solution, social media companies like Facebook are part of the problem. Now, the crazy thing about this, and we'll talk about what that story is that when there's even a hint, like I have been canceled from Facebook from time to time, if there's a hint of something that goes against the algorithms, if there's a hint of something that says, hey, I have a question about vaccines, or how many people have actually died from the vaccine, I want to know these things, just curious, man, done, canceled, this could be fake news. But where it comes to our kids, Facebook is full steam ahead. Let's talk about it. That's fake news too. Hmm. So is that an alarmist kind of an idea, or is it something, and that's the question that we deal with in these times. That seems so alarmist, Adam. Come on, really? And yet with some of the things that are taking place, man, that is a fair question in my opinion to ask. Now as you're watching or listening, you can take issue. You can always find us at MyMichelleLive, and you could give us your thoughts and your facts, but I don't think there's anything wrong with a little alarmism and saying, okay, what is this all about? And if it was such a good thing, Adam, you even did some research on this with how governments and settlements and fines were issued to places like Google, YouTube, and Facebook. Along these lines, not just in general, but along these lines, dealing with kids and privacy and the like, correct? Ooh. Hey, that's freedom of speech right there. But talking about vaccines, that's not so much. That stuff right there is dangerous. When you talk about the concern about platforms specifically for kids, Facebook's kid for kid focused platform for InstaKid, they you don't know who's in there or who's posing as a 12-year-old or even how do you put any restrictions on it? How do you prove that? I mean, as an adult, if you really wanted to prove something, you have maybe a ID, something like that. Kids don't have IDs. There's just no way to protect our children. So good kudos for, what was it? Mexico had a suit. And there's been other instances. Right. And those are some big things. Mental health. Hmm. Oh my gosh. Whoa. Whoa. Yeah. No. Also, it leaves no room for human development, for forgiveness, for growth, for learning. And we've seen that through the Black Lives Matter movement. I've talked about one issue in particular. I probably shared with you where an older gentleman who worked with the Sounders, Alan Hinton, had tweeted about his experience when he played soccer and he didn't play with blacks, and then blacks came on and he was like, wow, they're really good as anyone else, and you know what, doesn't matter to me as long as we keep winning, it's great. And he said then, and I have since coached many, I have people of color, and he was sharing development, the history. He was canceled, boom, fired, disassociated, apologies go out. So that happens, and this is an older gentleman without what you're saying, the benefit of every single moment of my life being broadcasted on social media. You're right. What is it going to look like? The idiocy. You remember the challenge of people going and licking ice cream, out of the freezer and putting it back? Or you had sent the story. I forgot the COVID challenge. Gosh. Toilets at a gas station. Oh my gosh. I know. I'm sorry. I know. I know. Yes, 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 I know. Oh gosh, exactly, exactly. And these, good. Oh, that's great. Almost cool. That's not good. That's like a cook not letting his own kids eat, the meal he makes, and you're like, really, what's in this thing? It's just fine. Nothing to see here. Yeah, and as we talk about this, we really are looking at a future that is pretty unsure, and as technology develops and becomes more and more powerful, I mean, what are we really going to do? Hmm. Really cool. How many people died? How much free speech has been stompled? How many people have fought just for the right to think and to feel and to worship as they please? And that's where we'd like to. Hmm, mm-hmm, yeah. And does anyone remember Tiananmen Square? Mm-hmm. Oh, oh boy. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. Is racism and lack of diversity and discluding. Yeah. And and how about right? And how about I issue this online challenge? How about find me a nation on the world at any time in human history where someone marginalized, someone outside of the norm, someone who makes choices that is against maybe lifestyle choices that are against the usual norm of society, those with a different religion, skin color, socioeconomic background. Find me a nation at any time in history where that person had more of an opportunity to rise out of, no matter how difficult. And I'm not gonna deny that there are challenges for people of color, but also for people who are poor and white at times in different parts of the country, people who women, people who are have disabilities. Yeah, there are challenges. Each one of us might have challenges. Some might be worse, but what country has ever afforded people more of an opportunity to rise up out of that and have and achieve the American dream or the like? And that's what free speech looks like, in case anyone needed a snapshot as to what it used to look like. But this is where we are today. There have been some pushbacks and some big stories in the last week as we continue to review the week in our Riz report. Adam, parents have pushed back, fought back against this critical race theory being spoon-fed and having our children indoctrinated it into it, and demonizing. I mean, this is kind of what's taking place, demonizing of a certain race. As we talk about that news story, I'm reminiscent, and I wish I would have pulled up the soundbite I had for this, but back in the 60s, a teacher videoed her class, and she said, guys, I have news for you. Everybody in the class with blue-eyed people are smarter. Blue-eyed people are better. Blue-eyed people get better grades. And all of the blue-eyed people get to go to lunch first. They get to stay 5 minutes extra on the playground. What took place just by that are kids that they segmented themselves. The brown-eyed and the green-eyed kids hated the blue-eyed kids, and the blue-eyed kids acted superior and bullied the brown-eyed kids, right? Then the next day she came in and said, you know what? I was wrong. I said that, but in reality, it's the brown-eyed kids who are the smart ones. You know, I have brown eyes. I'm smarter. And the same thing happens. So finally, the third day, she said, okay, we're going to talk about how this made you feel. You know what? There's no difference because of your flippin' eye color. And the kids talked about how it hurt, how friends stopped being friends. Why can we not learn from history and what takes place when we allow that kind of division? And where are the people who champion science, after all? When we talk about science is the end all be all, science tells us that there is really no division as of race. We are one human race, and all of the genetic markers like dark curly or hair, or the color of hair, the texture of hair, the color of skin, eye colors, nose features, all of those are present within every single region of the entire world. We are one human race. Critical race theory goes against science. And now let's talk, Adam, about the pushback. Come on. Mike dropped. Yeah. Hmm. Okay, and let's be true. Let's be real about putting our ideas where our mouth is. If they have CRT and say this is one theory that people are talking about, they should absolutely quote Martin Luther King, as that mother did, and talk about the science of race. You know, that is true balance, just as science continues to proliferate and grow. We see more evidence of intelligent design, but we do not hear about it in school. It is indoctrination, because both are what? theories. It's not a fact. It's not a science fact of Darwinian evolution. It's a theory. So if you teach many theories, then, as that mother said, honest dialogue is not divisive. Honest dialogue is not dangerous. Honest dialogue helps the truth to come out, and the truth sets you free. Boom. There you are. Hey, we go. No. Go ahead. Make your point, and we'll move. Well, aren't you optimistic? Where are we going to see that? Because in a lot of our colleges, it's just absent. So I'm hoping that we get there. Sometimes it's a pendulum swing. Sometimes things get so crazy. People say, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa! We need to get back to sanity." But man, we've been insane. We have time to take on one more story, which is sweeping the nation, and it's a huge, huge story that. Now the government is saying, the CDC is saying, if you have been fully vaccinated, you do not have to wear a mask inside or outside. You are free. Hallelujah. People are scared to death because this has been their security blanket. People are confused because they say, well, how do you know if someone hasn't been vaccinated? You know, we can discriminate based on someone's skin color. You know, if they're white, they're bad. But, you know, we knew if they didn't have a mask on, they were bad. How do we know now? And thirdly, that applies, well, unless you're on an airplane or you're, so it is just crazy. Well, if you were our president, absolutely, because he's important. But if that's the case, why was it banned? Right? Right? And then there's the issue, and not to say that vaccines, I believe that vaccines can be good. If we don't allow a challenge to their negative side, then vaccines don't get better. And we do need vaccines to get better. There's an entire agency, as I've mentioned many times, that has to deal and deal out money for vaccine injuries and deaths. Having talked with someone just this last week who had someone die, a young and healthy person die just in the same day or a day after getting the vaccine, their death is listed as unknown. We don't know. But remember, with COVID, people were dying from suicide and car accidents and being listed as a COVID death. So not that I want to attribute the death to vaccines, but we should be looking into it at very least. Even comorbidity, which is, that needs to be taken into consideration. No, and we have, Adam, this is the thing. People are confused over these new orders. People are scared, and people are putting their faith in a mask. And I understand. I am not against people wearing masks if they feel that it protects them. But true story, it's my birthday this week. A bunch of friends and I went out and we listened to live music. It was glorious. And we had, tables full of people. It was great. The place we were at, social distance, they're sanitized, whatever. Lots of people wearing their masks, obeying the rules. That was great. A couple people left the table and this guy comes and sits by me in our table because it's one of the few seats in the house that's open. Okay, not invited, but whatever. He's making small talk and such. Girlfriends and I saw a guy walk in. He came in, played the drums. He was fabulous. And he looked like the governor of Washington State, Jay Inslee. So we're laughing about that. I was like, he looks like Jay Inslee. What do you know? Jay Inslee sits at the table. It's not really him, but takes off his mask. And we're saying, Jay Inslee, put your mask on. We're just being silly girls. The guy who sitting next to me, turned around and said, "How many people do you know personally who died of COVID?" And I said, "I don't know if I know, people firsthand. I know if." He said, "Well, I have 3 close people die, and I don't appreciate your humor." I was like, "Dude, no offense, but if you don't like my humor, you shouldn't sit down next to it uninvited." I mean, I'm not trying to be rude here, but I didn't insult those people. I didn't kill those people. What has happened to our society? I mean, that we have to be so high strung. They are sensitive. We have only a few minutes left, so I wanted to get your thoughts on this and how this is going to move forward as we wrap up our broadcast today. Really, wasn't it Ohio that wants to give, a lottery of millions or whatever? It's like, what the? They're like Oprah. You get a free car. You get a free car. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What if you get a Shake Shack beer? I don't know. Oh, okay, and here we are. And then when we go back to critical race theory and segregation and demonization and racism, we see that same ugly. I mean, it gets really down to we get these specific titles, but what it comes down to is a simple sin of hate and fear. And segmenting people, and we have sections for the vaccinated, just another way. If we were to say that we have sections for the white people, ways that we like to segregate ourselves, it's the same hate, different day. But you nailed it, Adam. Look, for those of you who are listening, who are in your little bubble, whatever it may be, think about this. The bubble on the other side is about 50% of the population. So I don't think that we're going to go down easily. I think we're going to have this conversation. So people, lesson today, pop your dang bubble, start having conversations, and keep listening to My Michelle Live. This has been the Riz Report. Adam, thank you for making time this weekend. I so appreciate you, and we will catch you next week, brother. Happy weekend to y'all. Yes.